GameMaker 8 Legacy Reborn Swag Lord Edition. Powered by SSG.
Hey, what is up guys? Coder here doing a GameMaker kit tutorial today. So I've decided to make a tutorial because I've been requested to kind of explain a little bit about it, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna make a tutorial then. That's the easiest way. And then anyone else can just look at the tutorial. So we're just going to be using obviously the GameMaker kit, and we have here the API for it. The first thing that we want to do is set it up. So what do, you go to documentation, you copy the initiation to a create event, and of course you need to run the system in these step events, maybe even begin step. Just make sure it's done early before everything else. Alright, cool. So I'm just going to start by putting this object in here. And running it. Doesn't do anything, not surprising. We're gonna call this room load, and this game. Change the frame rate. Okay, just leave that like that for now. But I'm just going to also add a little bit of a window configuration. This is just so that the game that I'm running to show you guys, let's see here. Let's see if that works out. I think that 1 to 80 is my, let me check here. 1 to 80, 720. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna set this up. Display width, display height. Not actually even put that there. So this is the screen that you guys see, that's the size of that. One to 80, 720. I just ate, so I'm kind of a little bit fuzzy right now, but oh well. Do width, okay, display width divided by 2. Divided by 2. 2, and maybe 2. Oh, I'm so silly. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Because I was gonna say I can just center the screen, but then it's gonna center on my whole display and not on the display that you guys see. Okay, cool. But I do have to check. What if we go next to room? So we're gonna load the game. and then we're gonna go to the next room. All right. Okay, we're good. Doesn't seem to cause any problems. All right, so we're gonna start by looking at the API here. Time scaler. What's a time scaler? That's how much time has passed in seconds in the current frame. So let's just go to the game room. Okay. We can let's add an object here. What's with this? Duplicated. Yeah, I must have duplicated it. My bad. So yeah, there we go. Create a little red square. I'm gonna center it as well. So yeah, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna add some movement to it. Okay. So x plus is equal to time scalar times 10. What does that mean? It means that based on the amount of seconds that have passed, we're gonna move 10 pixels. Alright? So that means 10 pixels per second. Just put that in there though. I'm gonna make that widescreen. I think it's 965/40. That's widescreen. Alright, you see that? So it's moving 10 pixels per second. So time scale, you multiply in any frame. You multiply by time scale to get a per second consistent kind of timing, right? Consistent kind of math. So yeah, that's a time scaler. You don't have to worry about it too much. The pointer X and pointer Y is actually to do with the pointer position on the window rather than like when you have mouse X, mouse Y in a view, there is the problem of not knowing the mouse coordinates relative to the screen instead of the view. It's a little bit confusing. I guess you don't have to worry too much about that. This is more something that I use. It's a bit more advanced, but yeah, I'm not even gonna bother explaining. I'm just gonna explain the simple things. Okay, one second. I have a message here. Sorry, my friend, he's messaging me. Okay, anyways, let's go back to the tutorial. Arrays, I guess I can teach you. It's basically lists, and if you don't know what lists are, it's pretty basic. So we can say our array is equal to new array. Size, we're gonna say 100. Default value is equal to 20. Actually, 0. And then you can access that with get. So you might say, and you can use set to set the array value. Set array 20, 500, or actually apples. Set array 35 oranges. And then message, of course there's a message thing, which is basically show message but conveniently with 3 letters. Okay, message get array 20, message get array 35. A5 array 20th index. Index. So string stri string or string I it's actually meant to be string integer. So what it does is if you have a number, you should convert it to an integer, which means that you have no decimal places. Which means you have something like 55.32 and you use string, is gonna say 55. So I'm gonna use that as an example. Right there. Okay. Let's see how we go with that. 20th index apples, 35th index oranges, 55. So as you see, this got converted to only 55, just like that. And okay, let's see here. Let's move on. Arrays are pretty simple. Of course, you have to free the array when you're done, just like that. And of course, you have the same result. Who cares? Freeing the array just releases the memory that the array uses. Stringified array contents, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna bother. Two-dimensional, this is untested, so I'm not even gonna bother messing with that, honestly. Okay, so I'm gonna add some views now because I'm gonna use the camera operations, camera functions. So we're gonna make 1500 by 1000 room. I'm gonna add a view of 960, 540, 540, and it's not gonna follow anybody, but we're gonna enable views. All right, it's gonna be visible, of course. So then that's where the camera operations come in. You have the adjustment of the camera, which we have to call at the beginning. So we're gonna say, actually let's remove all this array code, we don't need that anymore. Camera adapt, okay. And in step event we can say camera x is equal to, cam set xy. Okay, cool. Set xy is gonna set it to the x and y coordinates of this little thing. And do you see here how I might have to add a background for it to be visible? Okay, cool. That's way too slow. Oh, you'll notice something. I guess I have to tell you. When you change the frames per second, you don't affect the game. You don't affect the timing of the game. Okay, so notice how fast it's moving. I'm not entirely sure why the view is not moving. Does this work? I think I broke this function because I updated clamp. Oh. Okay. Well. Alright. So we have camera set now working. Camera set A, no, we're not gonna worry about that. But yeah, camera setting is basically saying the X and Y coordinates where you want the camera to be. Pretty simple stuff, nothing fancy. And then yeah, so then we'll have the debug message, and what the debug message is a message that ends the game if you say, I think, no. It's basically a question, but instead of giving you just a message, and then if you have somewhere maybe in the step event messages that constantly over and over again there's a message, the problem with that is that it's hard for you to exit out of the game. So you can use a debug message, and that will actually fix the problem with that. That will actually allow you to exit the game without having to manually terminate it on something like Task Manager. Alright, and then there's the debug tools, which I can't remember all of them, but if you use the debug tools, you can press Control Enter to execute some code like that. It's an example, right? Control Enter, press some, and I believe the other thing that it does is Alt plus Enter full screen, which for some reason is glitching out right now. I don't know why, but I don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. Mostly Control Enter is what is supposed to help debug. Directories are pretty straightforward. They're a little bit of an advanced thing. Rectangle drawing, sprite drawing, that's pretty basic. I don't need to explain. This is just convenience functions. So instead of going draw set color, draw set alpha, draw set font, you just use one function. Either use draw set 5, draw set 3, draw set 2, color alpha, font, horizontal align, vertical align. Alright, pretty straightforward. This is for blending, blend mode. Draw self is a very important function it's a convenience function. Draw shadow is basically just some weird thing that I ended up adding because I was working on something, and I was like, okay, well, let's just make this part of the libraries. Error handling, of course. Simple error throwing. If we say no, nothing happens. If we say yes, error, 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 right? Fatal error. Okay, that's what error does. Very simple function of convenience, of course. Fade, I believe this one may work with views. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's supposed to work with views, so we can try that. Try to make it fade to a red. Fade to a red in 15 seconds. Alpha start and alpha end is the alpha for the transition. Let's make it give an error when it's done. Why isn't it working? Oh my gosh, does nothing work? Hey guys, I'm back. I had to fix up the GameMaker kit. There was problems, as you guys saw, and honestly I had to go through it and change it up a little bit. I fixed the problems that were in it, some of them that I found, and I also changed a little bit. I changed the debug message instead of debug to being demessage. I think that's it. But anyways, let's go back to our fading. I've now got it working so that it fades correctly. And then there is the callback for the error. It's just going to give an error when it's finished. Let's see here. Callback. I'm tired right now. I think I'm gonna go to bed soon. I think. Alright, cool. So draw self, draw shadow. So we were up to here, to the fade. I don't know if I showed you the debug message though, so let me just do that. So yeah, when you have a message that's something like in the step event, it just keeps going forever. You can't, like if I hold escape, that worked, but it doesn't always work, alright? Actually, it worked because I used the debug message. But if I use a message, if I try that, then you're gonna see that there may be a problem with it. If I hold escape, it doesn't quit, right? So I can now finish. I can now terminate it in my task manager. But with the debug message, it's a lot easier for you to exit the game during something like a step event without having to, you know, worry about terminating your entire thing with the task manager. Just press escape, you're good to go. Let's move on now to, let's see, to the files. Okay, so files are pretty straightforward. I'm just going to show some examples here of okay. We're gonna add a keyboard letter R for read. And then we're gonna duplicate that event for keyboard letter W, which is for write. Alright, string, I think we need string. Path, and then I might write something like testing. That'll work for now. So if we try to read it, it's gonna say what we have written in it. Let me just go to the directory of the project here. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here. If I open the file test.txt now, which is in the same directory as my GMKit project, it gives me that. If I might actually just create a new folder here. Let's just do that. To make it easier. Alright, cool, here we go. So now I'm gonna pull this directory here. I'm gonna try to read it. It's got nothing. If we now go into the directory here, you can see this file, and it's empty. If we now write to it, you see we wrote that text, and then if we read, we have that. So that's just for messing around with files. It's pretty basic and like simple. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about anything else. It's no big deal, nothing crazy. And then we have the maps, of course. This is just convenience functions for using the GameMaker maps. I'm not gonna really explain that. If you know maps, DS maps, then you will know what this is. If you don't know, press F1. You will open the manual, right? And then just go to the, either go to the maps section, data structures maps, or just search here. And there's all the information you need about maps. Objects, this is just for creating an object at runtime, which is a pretty advanced thing. I'm not gonna really explain it. And then this is the more, like this is more convenience functions as well. So destroying yourself, or destroying someone else, or destroying an object. So what does that mean? You can destroy, if you create a bunch of blue square, right? Let's just go with that here. Oh, that's why it wasn't working. I remember now. I just figured something out. Give me a second. Okay, let me just update that real quick. Something wasn't working before, and I figured out why. I fixed it. It's an issue in the code. Okay, so we're gonna add a bunch of these blue squares everywhere, right? Then if we run our game, we might say destroy all blue square. Destroys all of them. So you can destroy an entire object, or you can destroy one specific object. Let me just see here. How to use that function. Distance find. I think there's a better way to do it. So in our step event for object red square, we're actually in the click event, left pressed. We might say destroy instance nearest mouse x mouse y all blue square. So we can destroy a specific object, right? We can destroy a specific object. Okay, let me just check something. I think I have a problem here. Need to drag this so I know where my face cam ends. Okay, so we can destroy a specific object if we give it an ID of that object. So when you use a function that gives you only one object, it gives you what's called the identifier, or the ID. So why isn't that working? Oh, it's because I have to press the red square. Mouse, global left press. That's so stupid. I never use these mouse events, that's why I screwed that up. Okay, there we go. So now it's destroying the nearest one to the mouse. Okay? So you can destroy a specific object, or you can destroy all the objects of a certain kind, or you can destroy yourself. So we might say destroy ourselves. It's a lot more convenient to use the destroy function instead of GameMaker's instance destroy, because instance destroy you have to call it from the person that you want to destroy, but destroy you can destroy someone else instead of yourself. And it's easier to write the word destroy instead of instance underscore destroy. Okay, let's move on. This is already too long. This is basically instance exists. You check if an object exists. This is just for creating. These are convenience functions. You create something somewhere, or you create something somewhere, or you just create something. So I'm not even gonna really bother explaining that too much. Then there's the timer. This one's pretty simple. You might say timer 5 seconds test function. Okay, and then you create a test function, and then you can say just give an error, or actually a message. They're just like alarms in a way. There, test complete. They're kind of like alarms. So after 5 seconds, whatever function you give it is going to execute. But instead of alarms where you have to go to the alarm, you give it a function and then it executes the function after 5 seconds. Okay? Any function you want, it will execute it. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Pointer, that's just the same as mouse functions. String add, substring, string integer, string float. You don't have to worry about these, honestly. RGB, HSV, these are for making colors. So, you know, in GameMaker you may use make color RGB from 0 to 255. Just like that. But with this one, all you have to do is go RGB 0 to 1, 0 to 1, and 0 to 1. So it's a convenience function. If you don't know what it does, all you have to do, open the manual, search here, okay, make color RGB, make color HSB. That's what these functions are, right? You make your own color and you can use that when you're drawing. Okay. Point distance and point direction, pretty straightforward. Len X and len Y as well. I'm not going to really bother explaining these too much. They are, I mean, kind of advanced in some ways. You don't have to be advanced to use them, but they're advanced in the sense that you usually don't have to mess around with them until you are trying to get some specific thing working in a specific way. Like when you're trying to shoot, if you want it to come off at the tip of the gun, that's somewhere where you might use this. You do a little bit of math, so a little bit of advanced operations there. Random basically gives a number from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Clamp, of course, clamps your value between minimum and maximum. Angle difference gives you the angle difference. This executes a function. This function returns null and basically doesn't do anything. That's just a function if you don't want anything to happen and you want to pass that function somewhere. That's what that's for. So I guess I should update this. Point direction, point distance. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother explaining these. Len X and len Y. Too much. I'm just gonna go briefly. I guess the problem is that some people don't know anything about GameMaker at all, and they don't understand what these functions are, so I'm just going to briefly explain. I'm going to open up Paint. I'm going to briefly try to explain with a graphic what it means. Okay, so let's go from the beginning. I don't think there's anything here besides that. Okay, so point direction, of course, it's very basic. Let me just change the color there. Direction goes like this: 0, 90, 180, and 270. Okay, so point direction is going to give you the direction of a line from first X and Y coordinates to the second X and Y coordinates. So if you have a point here, it's going to give you the direction from 0 to 360, and 360 actually comes back to 0. So it gives you that. That's what point direction means. Point distance is again the distance between point A and point B. Okay, it's mathematics. So it's very basic. You just have to know very basic math to understand it. All right. And len X, len Y, what that does is you give it a direction and you give it a distance, right? Just like here, this is the distance. Give it a direction and a distance, and it's going to tell you what the X and Y coordinates that you have to travel to get there. All right. So yeah, if you don't know math, then it may be a little bit difficult to understand, and in that case I suggest, if you want to get into that, I suggest you learn and you take some math courses, because this is for a lot of advanced things. You can do very, very basic things without ever needing to mess around with this. But if you do want to do that, then you need to take some kind of beginner's math course, which should explain to you coordinates, vectors, polar coordinates, and the Cartesian, everything. It should give you a basic understanding. Random is of course a very simple thing which I can show. I should show because this one is a little bit like, I feel like I should just show it because it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we have curve value, which means current value. That's going to be drawn over there. And we're going to draw it as a float with 10 decimal places. Okay? Why do I have 2 here? Yes, I made that mistake. And then we might say key press space, our value is equal to rand. Alright, which is random, of course. You see there? It gives you a random value between 0 and 1. So random gives you a random number. Keeps on going forever. Okay? No crazy mental ability required to understand that. So yeah. Clamp, of course, you have the minimum and the maximum. I'm sure you already understand this function. If you have any number and you say I want it to be between 5 and 100, if you give it 150, it's gonna say okay, we're gonna go back to 100 because that's the maximum. If you give it anything less, it's gonna say, well, this is our minimum, so I'm gonna, right? So what that function does, it clamps between the minimum and maximum. Pretty basic stuff. Angle difference, you don't have to worry about that too much. And of course, that's about it. I'm gonna conclude this. I feel like everything is pretty straightforward, but I felt that I should still make this tutorial for some people who just are very, very inexperienced. So hope that helps you, hope that you learned a little bit if you are a beginner. So thanks for watching, stick around for more, and peace.